Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight marks the second monthly gathering that we have for Divrei Torah and Tefillah. Tonight's program is dedicated to the memory of Netanel ben Istam Duchtar. I'd like to call upon Rabbi Steinberg, the Marda Asra, to start with the first kapitel Tehillim and Divrei Psicha.
Mahlois Esoy na Elohim Yayin Yovoyezi Ezli V'im Adonai O Yisei Shomayim Bogem Al Yitei Lamoit Raglecho Al Yonum Shoyrecho Shon Shemei Yisrael Lo yishmochu Adonai tzilcha yad yaminecho Yoimo Hashemesh lo yakecho V'yoreyach baloycho Adonai yishmochu mikol Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the gathering Erev Rosh Chodesh. It's a special gathering, Erev Rosh Chodesh El. Many people have observed and spoken about the fact, at least we in Kew Gardens Hills have witnessed a tremendous amount of achdus of all different types of people. Men with yarmulkes, men with tzurugos, men with borsalinos, men with streimluch, not too many, but we say all different types, and the same thing, women with sheitluch and tichluch, and those who are not even married. All different types of people have come to daven together, say Tehillim together, and show a tremendous amount of achdus for Acheinu B'nai Yisrael b'chol makom shehem. The tefillah of Acheinu Kol Beis Yisrael is so much more important today than ever before. Mitzuyim batzora uvashivya, bein bayom uvein bayabosha, hamokei mirachim aleim. I was thinking about a Rashi in yesterday's Sedra, a Peledik Rashi. I want to offer my pshat and bring it home to the achdus of Klal Yisrael. The Pasuk says, when you come to Eretz Yisrael, plenty of places of worship, Goyish worship. People don't really know there were many by people that they would not walk on the block of a church. Probably no one knows about that. I remember once going to a very well-known Rebbe. He said when he was a youngster, the Talmidei Chassam Sofer knew about the fact that there's a reform movement. The Chassam Sofer saw what the reform movement is going to be before it ever came about. Most people did not think that will be a movement by Klal Yisrael to give our children to Goyim, which reform movement is. I remember I was newly married. I lived right here in the Garden Apartments, and I was sitting out under an overhang and learning, and a woman who was visiting her sister came and said, "Are you Jewish Orthodox?" Yeah. Oh, I'm also Jewish, but I'm Reform. And she said to me, "I belong to Reform Temple in Flushing." And she said, "Would you believe that half of our members are not Jews?" I said, "Of course I believe it. Why should they be Jews?" He said, "No Shabbos, no Kashrus, no Taras Mishpacha." What do you do as a Jew? Just have a Jewish star on the front of the building? She said, "Oh, I never thought of it that way." I said, "Yeah, that's what it is." So I once went to a very choshev Rav. He said when he was a youngster, his father would tell him to show someone directions. He would not walk on the street, on the block of a Reform shul. It was to him like a tifla. Today everyone walks any place. But it says when you come to Eretz Yisrael, you should know that there's danger points. There are places of worship, of Goyish worship. You have to destroy all those places. Mitatzim es mizbechoisam, shibatem es matzevoisam, bashareim tisum v'eish, usilahem t'gadeun, mibadetem es shemam and amokem mahu. Eretz Yisrael has no place for this. Not for Reform, not for Conservative, not for Goyim, of course. Then the next pasuk says, "Lo yisasun kain Hashem Elokeichem." Don't do this to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Gemara says in Shabbos, you're not permitted to erase Hashem's name. What happens if Hashem's name becomes erased? Not because you did it. It's only a grama. Asiya asa. If you do it, you're not allowed to do it. That's an issa. Lo yisasin. But grama, it would cause, you can't be chayiv. They're not going to give you malchus because you're goyrim l'mechikas Hashem. That's what the Gemara says in Shabbos. The Rashi says on this pasuk, such a puzzling Rashi. Rashi says, do you think that a Jew will come with a mallet and knock down the Mizbeach? He'll come with a hatchet and chop down some part of the Beis Hamikdash? You think Jews are so insensitive? They'll do such things? Chas v'sholem. They don't have to have a pasuk for that. No Jew will do it. So what does it say? No Jew will do it. What do I have to say a pasuk? Rashi says, "They touched them as b'choisam v'tibatem b'shemon l'sasin kain. As horo l'moichik es Hashem l'noiteitz even min ha-mizbeach." You're not allowed to erase Hashem's name. You're not allowed to break down one of the stones of the Mizbeach. Oymen ha'azorah. Omer Rabbi Yishmael, v'chisal al daitro, do you ever think that Yisrael noitzim as ha-Mizbeach? And Jews will come with a hatchet, knock down a piece of the Beis Hamikdash? Ella, Shaloi tasu b'ma'aseihem. You shouldn't do as a goyim do. V'yigmu shabbaniseichem l'migdash shabbaniseichem she'yichorev. Don't act like goyim act, and you'll cause the Beis Hamikdash to be destroyed. So Rashi says here, grama, you're going to cause it. Well, grama, we said, is nothing, nicht gefährlich grama. Why is Rashi saying grama here? It only says asiya is also, not grama. And Rashi comes up, you shouldn't do things that you'll be causing the Beis Hamikdash to be destroyed. This parenthetically, the Torah sometimes says something is chayiv, and sometimes the Torah says potter. When it says potter, it doesn't mean it's mutter. Potter means potter aval osa. You don't get punished, but you're not allowed to do it. I'll give you a few examples. Grama v'nizokin. If you cause somebody a damage, hefset, you don't have to pay for it, but it's not permissible. You see your water is going to fall on somebody else's property and destroy something. You say it's grama. The water is just going. I didn't push it on. I didn't put it on and take it off. So potter, abolosha. Potter means grama is potter mizokim, means you don't pay in this world, but chayev in shamayim. Most people here are too young to know about it, but in 1940s, 30s, 40s, how many people used to walk, supposedly religious people, Shomer Shabbos, used to walk and wheel their children in carriages? Why? Because a child who can walk himself, you're not chayiv. And they said mutter. No, not chayiv means osa. People didn't realize it. Many, many people. Getting back to this Kashi. The Rebbeinu Shalom deals with Klal Yisrael in a different way than he deals with any other nation in the world. The Pasuk says, Hashem tzilcho al yad yaminecha. The Rebbeinu Shalom is your shadow on your right hand. You're walking in the street, you pick up your right hand, you see a shadow. Well, two things caused it, the sun and you. But you are the one who made that shadow. If you put your hands down, there'll be no shadow. Put your hands up, there's a shadow. The Rebbeinu Shalom deals with us in a manner of Hashem tzilcha yad yaminecha. Whatever you do, the Rebbeinu Shalom reacts to us. And therefore the Pasuk says, if you do Averis, you're doing it, your hand is there, and the shadow is there. The Rebbeinu Shalom said, I'm taking away Beis Hamikdash. It's a positive side. When people come together, and especially before Rosh Hashanah, people are coming together with achdus. It shows the Rebbeinu Shalom, Klal Yisrael, is ato echad, b'shimcha echad, u'mikamcha Yisrael go'echad words. We are proclaiming the Rebbeinu Shalom being echad. And we are am echad words, go'echad words. This shows the Rebbeinu Shalom, the achdus of Klal Yisrael. And the Rebbeinu Shalom reacts to us in that same manner. If there's strife and there's difference of opinion, and people are going in all different directions, the Rebbeinu Shalom acts to us in the same way. But we show the Rebbeinu Shalom that we're all together, and the Rebbeinu Shalom shows us in the same way. And therefore we should be zeicha. All of us together should be zeicha to aksiva v'achsima taiva, should be shalom akol Yisrael, chol ha'olam. We should see the time of Bias Hagoyo, V'mheira v'yameinu, Amen.
Mr. Peretz Steinberg. At this time, I'd like to call upon our keynote speaker for the evening for Divrei Torah, R Fischel Schachter Shlita.
Shus, the Mar Asra, these wonderful, powerful words. I hope I don't take away from them. It says, that after the Afikoimen, you're not supposed to eat, so it doesn't take away the taste of what you had till now. I don't want to take away the taste. What the Rav left us, it does say you can let it drink water, though, because the water doesn't take away the taste. So, I just hope to offer a glass of water. Klal Yisrael is experiencing, I think, an ongoing situation that I don't remember in my days. I remember there was a crisis. I remember as a child the Yom Kippur War. I remember the Saddam Hussein and his bombs. But they were all limited to, b'chazdei Hashem, a relatively small timetable. And when it was over, it was over. Something is happening over here. Something that started with the horrendous, beyond imaginable kidnapping of the 3 Bachrim. And it's like ongoing. It's almost like the Rebbeinu Shem says, no. You're not going to run away from this. I need something from you. We're at a turning point in the history of Klal Yisrael. It's not going to be business as usual. Things are going to change. And it's almost, we would like to say, oy, Nebuch, what a tragedy. Okay, but come on, life goes on. And it's like the Rebbeinu Shem is saying, life is not going to go on. One ceasefire, another ceasefire, another ceasefire. And look at this situation. It's, in Yiddish, there's a saying, if it wasn't my problem, I would laugh. You have Hamas that gets on its hands and feet and begs for a ceasefire. The Israelis give in, and then Hamas violates the ceasefire. And then you open up the main networks across the country, and they're going to tell you, according to Palestinian sources, Israelis violated the ceasefire. It's true, according to Palestinian sources, the Israelis violated the ceasefire. You can say anything. Twist it into words. And you can't catch you. They say a story about a shadchan who was deaf. Somebody asked him about a bacher. He really didn't want to give any information. So he said, the way I hear, he's a good boy. You know? Touch it up the way you want. This Yidel who went swimming someplace, the forest ranger comes. This is what's with you people. The sign says, no swimming allowed. He says, that's what it means? He says, I thought it meant no, swimming allowed. He says, there's no nekudas, right? You touch anything. And we get it the way we want it to be touched. That's just the way it is. What's the story of the person doing the experiment on frogs? He cuts off one leg of the frog. I'm not recommending this, chas v'sholom, it's tzar b'lechaim. I'm just saying a story that they say. Can't vouch for the authenticity, though. But I think the point is, cuts off one leg from the frog, and he says, jump. Frog jumps. Cuts off the second leg, he says, jump. It jumps. Third leg, jump. It jumps. Cuts off the final leg, he says, jump. It stays there. So the scientific study concludes that when a frog loses its 4 legs, it goes deaf. Varai, it didn't jump. You can twist and turn anything so that it fits your needs. And this is not to, in any way, devaluate human tragedy. Because for the vast majority of people living in the Hamas territories, they're all human hostages. And pain is pain, and Mas Yodei Tova B'Yom B'Atamam Shira. But I'm saying where it's so obvious what's happening over here, and yet the world will twist this into exactly what they want. And we would like, in a way, to run away from it. Okay, it's a terrible problem in Eretz Yisrael. But we can't run away from it. Because incidents of anti-Semitism are on a rise that almost we only find in storybooks. A day does not go by. Europe, Mandachar Shmei, had 2 young Bachrim from France at my Shabbos table. And they said that there's no one that they know that wasn't beaten up at one point. The only question was, how badly? Do we understand what's going on in the world? And we live under a very, very false pretext of security, of denial. It's not to say that the government isn't doing everything humanly possible to try to protect its citizens. But between you and me, if two people can climb up the Brooklyn Bridge and get away with the American flag, and nobody stopped them, there's supposed to be a police car there, by the way. I always wondered, the traffic is all backed up because they made a special lane to keep a police car there 24 hours. What were they doing? They were davening Ma'ariv? What they didn't see? They didn't see anyone climbing up the bridge and take off the flag? But I think it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu's way of letting us know, Im Hashem lo yishmar, shav shakat shayme. A while ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Eretz Yisrael. Some of you may have heard the story from me already. I apologize, but I think it's important. And I'd like to get to the crux of my glass of water. I was in Eretz Yisrael. I went to visit my daughter who had a baby. I was there with my wife, and we're wheeling a carriage. And we left our apartment, which was all the way by up on Yisrael Bracha, and we crossed Bar Ilan, and we went for a walk all the way down to Ezra's Torah. It was a beautiful Yerushalayim evening. And there were rockets being fired from Gaza. What else is new, Mahadran comes up with a new ice cream, rockets fired from Gaza. We were almost immune to it. Nebuch on the people in Sderot and, Ashkelon, it's them. It's always Nebuch on them. Like the Chafetz Chaim said, people think there's a Chevra Starbes. There's a group of people that die. There's a Chevra Shas. It's interesting, the Chidush Yerim says a Peladik of art. Chamisha Asa B'Av is a tremendous Yom Tif. This time period between Chamisha Asa B'Av and Rosh Chodesh El is a very elated time period. We're supposed to be Meisif and Limud HaTorah. What was the great Simcha of Chamisha Asa B'Av? Well, one of the reasons were, every Tisha B'Av, Klal Yisrael had to dig a trench, and they had to get in there. And many died, as the Gzeir was that the Meisei Midbar would not live to go in. In the morning of Tisha B'Av, there were some who climbed out of the trench, some who didn't. Came the last year, Tisha B'Av, the last of the generation of the Midbar climbs into the trenches. The next morning, they all get up, every last one of them. They said it must be a mistake, it's probably not Tisha B'Av. But it comes Chamisha Asa B'Av, and the moon is glaring in its full living color. They didn't make a mistake. The Gzeir is over. What a tremendous joy. What a tremendous simcha. Farshim asked a question. Who are these people that climbed into the trenches that last Tisha B'Av and came out? Now, there were 600,000 people that left Mitzrayim. The Gzeir that they should die, because of the Chet HaMeraglim, was on anyone who was over 20. So all those people were supposed to die. The ones that were under 20 were not supposed to die. The only ones that survived, that were over 20 when they left Mitzrayim, were Yeshua ben Nun, Kalev ben Yefun, Serach Bas Asher, Medrash. So who are these people that on the morning of that Tisha B'Av got up? Mimanashach. If they were in the category of the Meisei Midbar, why did they get up? They were supposed to die. If they weren't in that category, they were too young or too old, so why did they go into the trenches? Says the Chidush Yerim, there's different opinions in the Rishonim, and some hold, well, do the math, 600,000 people divided by 40 years, what's that, about 30,000 a year? The last 30,000 didn't die. Guess what? Not just Yeshua, not just Kalev, the last 30,000 didn't die, according to one opinion. Says the Chidush Yerim, why didn't they die? Because the first year, Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm sorry to tell you, you're not going to go into Eretz Yisrael. All 600,000 went into the trenches the night of Tisha B'Av. They knew that 30,000 are going to die. And everyone said, Oy Nebuch, he's going to die. Oy Nebuch, that person, the Lashon Hara he speaks, that guy, Oy Nebuch. Hashem, it's not me, right? And 30,000 died. And the next year they did the same thing. The next year they did the same thing until it was down to one before the last year, only 60,000 left. Hey, the math is not so good, 50%. Would you sell him a life insurance policy? It's not me, it's him. It's the other guy. It can't be me. Me and God, we have it out. We no way. Came the last year, these 30,000 people looked at each other, they said, there's no one left to die, only us. We can't say it's going to be someone else. We're the only ones that are left. And they started shaking and quaking, and they said, Barik Olamim, save us. And the Rebbeinu Shalom said, if only your previous generations would have done the same thing. Instead of just assuming that it's someone else. Instead of just assuming that it's not me. You get the sense. The Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to understand. Hello, little Yidala. Doesn't make a difference if you live in Los Angeles or San Francisco or Mexico City or New York or Barapaki or Akaidish. Doesn't make a difference where you are. It's Gullus. Guess what? And you're included in this. And take a walk, basically, on the outskirts of any section where you are. Walk long enough dressed like a Yid and duck for the rock flying over your head. And then you'll understand that you're included in what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to include. And like the Rav said before, the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to get together. So let's try to let him know we're willing to get together. Let's try to cry out to him, Rebbeinu Shalom, save us from this gullus. Save us from this tzaras. One tzara after the other. On children. 4-year-old boy. Heard the mother talking and saying that she was the most happiest family that ever lived. And a senseless missile comes zeroing in and takes the life of her 4-year-old. Today there was a tragedy in the country. 6-year-old girl, Bacher, missing from Lakewood. In Yar Yerushalayim, something is happening. It's not coincidences. Okay, but it's him, but it's not me. Shoo. Baruch Hashem. It's not me, right? It's not working that way. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, I need you all to say, it's me, it's me. Not that I want to frighten you, but if you all say, it's me, it's me, it's me, then I can help you. The Rebbeinu Shalom really wants to help us. So we're walking in Ezra's Torah. And we're sitting down. And we're wheeling the carriage back and forth. A baby all of 2 weeks old. And I'm, looking at my phone, and I'm telling my wife, that there's a bomb in Ashkelon. There she says we got to deal with certain issues that I don't want to deal with. I said there's time. She said there's no time. I said there is time. It's not the first time we had this argument. You know what they say, that if men had to clean for Pesach and ladies had to build a sukkah, both would start in Erev Pesach. So we're going through all the difficulties in life, the ups and downs that we have to deal with, children. And we're like, no, make a decision. I don't like decisions, And all of a sudden, then it creates a certain degree of stress. Baruch Hashem, nothing radical, but a little bit stress over there. And all of a sudden, I hear in the distance that wail of a siren. No, it's a mistake. No sirens in Yerushalayim. Sirens are for the towns near Gaza. Sirens are for Kiryat Shmona. Sirens are for the Golan Heights. Not here. This is, where his pizza is. It can't be a thing over here. This is Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh. I got to tell you, when I heard the siren, we both were stumped. It was that eerie siren that you hear, in the Swan Lake Fire Department, the volunteer fire departments, and then all the locals come flying with their pickup trucks. So I said to myself, is that the Shabbos alarm? Wednesday night? Boy, jet lag is really getting to me. But then we see everybody running. We see children running, we see grown-ups running, and, we give each other this look and we say, okay, this is for real. Let me tell you something. I like telling stories. I don't like being in the story so much. But guess what? Whether we like it or not, in life, we are in the story. Your whole life is a story. Chapter by chapter, page by page. So we go running. I got to tell you that my Hebrew is much to be desired. I meet someone on the street who's running. I ask them where the makolet is. He tells me it's not a good time to go shopping. He says, you mean miklat? Well, whatever, miklat, what's the difference, With a southern drawl, it sounds like makolet, with a Brooklyn accent. So we run into the miklat. Then we found out something about the Yerushalayim miklats. Then most of the miklats are gracious hosts for sukkahs, bicycles, great-grandfathers, exercise bike, and all sorts of things. Your grandmother's chairs, no place for people. So someone yells, come to the Cheder HaMadrigot. Come to the stairway. So we run out on the street looking for a stairway, and the sirens are getting louder and louder. and my wife is clutching a 2-week-old baby. And a bunch of windows open up. And a bunch of people are waving their hands, and they're saying, come, 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 come. In all different languages. You know? You hear it, it was amazing. European accents. And you hear it in, come on, come on, come on, what are you standing there? Get in. You know, in Hebrew. You know. Always saying the same thing, guys. And we come running into this stairway. And it was the first siren that Yerushalayim had, I think it was 2 years ago. It was the first of. The kids were scared a little bit. But you know, Yiddelach ha-Yiddelach. There's a saying, we say, do Yidden gait minish hingrik. Where there are Jews, you don't go hungry. One guy comes out with a plate of rugelach. Says it's his grandmother's yard site, but a l'chaim is giving out to everyone. The other guy comes out with water. The other guy selling raffle tickets to his kids' luncheon or something. It's a good time to schusim. And basically another person comes around with, you know, and the other start schmoozing. You know, and basically everybody was trying to calm everyone else down. And in the distance, I hear one boom, and I hear another boom. You're not quite sure what it was. And the guy goes, "Shtei boomim, you can't," you know, and the ladies are just schmoozing away, as if this was, the Rebbeinu Shalom prepared this invitation from Sheshes Mebereshis, which I guess he did, as everything else in our life. And like the sirens are over, and like the men are leaving. That's if you have an apartment to go to. The women are still schmoozing with each other. Really? You live here? Oh, really? That's your aunt, second cousin, sisters? Well, I didn't know. You know, they say if two Jewish ladies talk to each other and they don't know a common person, it's only because they didn't talk to each other long enough. So finally, we get out, we're walking, and there's a tremendous resiliency in Klal Yisrael. And that I noticed on the occasion of the 3 sirens that I experienced in Yerushalayim. Just a second later, the street is back to normal. You couldn't tell a thing. That place Thursday night that sells cholent, late night cholent, so you know, everything is just, you know, whatever's going to be is going to be. That's it. Life goes on. Who has time for missiles? In the second siren that I heard, I kid you not, I'm standing over there, so caught by surprise. Now I'm an old pro. And there's 2 Yerushalmis are running. And one of them says to the other, Baruch, I did a shidduch. They run in. The sirens are getting louder. Then everybody emerges after the sirens goes out, and the other guy goes, with Vemin, with who? As if like nothing happened in between. Conversation goes on. So it struck me the unbelievable resiliency of Klal Yisrael. And a couple of things struck me. And I sat down that night, and I tried to put it into perspective, what my experience was. And something struck me, which was very strange. A second before, when I was sitting in the park, so there was a lot of pressure. Nothing terrible. The normal ups and downs of, you know, sandwich generation taking care of grandparents and Einikluch and children. And suddenly I'm in this stairway. There's no pressure. No shidduchim to worry about now. No bills to worry about now. So people say, yeah, Rachmana litzlan, if you have, if a person has the big daig, he doesn't worry about the small daigs. It wasn't even that. I wasn't even worried about the bomb. Honestly. I was trying to figure myself out. Was I in denial? I was like, just schmoozing with these guys. Oh, boom, boom, okay, gange weiter. And we walked out, and I'm trying to say, I probably was in denial. Why did I feel so relaxed? Why at that moment, right, with my wife clutching a 2-week-old baby, and everyone's here, and this is the first experience, and no one knows where this thing is going to land, and the sirens, why did I experience, in a way, a tranquility, a kind of menuchas hanefesh, never had till now. This day and age, it's tough. People are not ruhig. People are calm. Then I saw a shmooze from Rav Zilberstein, the Mechaber the Lein L'Shabeach. And he describes his experience of running into a shelter. And he says that he realized there's 5 mitzvahs you can fulfill when you run into a shelter. And he lists these 5 mitzvahs. Mitzvah number 1. There's a mitzvah to believe that the Rabbeinu Shalom is boirei umanig l'chol habruyim. There is a mitzvah to believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He makes our appointments. The with, and the with whom, and the when, at every split second of your life is Hashem's appointment. And He runs this world. And every missile has an address, every word has an address. The There's a mitzvah during a time of crisis to open your doors. There's a mitzvah to feel the pain of others. There's a mitzvah to daven for others. And there's a mitzvah of akaras hatov. Thank Hashem that I'm alive after a crisis. And when I heard that shmooze, I said, it's beginning to unfold. And I want to run through each of these very quickly. Because we live in a day, we live in an age, we're all running into shelters in different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be a missile. As we deal with the nisyonos day to day. Rabbi Peretz said in his time that a yid that stands up to his day-to-day tests in this day and age, his service is chashuv to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the Kohen Gadol in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, lifnai lifnim, inside. Hashem knows exactly how difficult it is. I said to myself, what was the tranquility at that moment? It was very simple. All of this stuff is not legeya, shidduchim, bills, shver, shviger, job decisions, shidduchim decisions. It's all not legeya. There's a bomb coming at you, right? So, what can I do about the bomb? Can I get out and blow it away? Can't do that. So all I can do is, I can run into a shelter. That's my shtadlus, that's my effort. I say, okay, I did what I can do, Hashem. Now whatever happens, I'm in your hands. It was so obvious that it generated a certain sense of tranquility that I never had. I was like, wherever this thing falls, it falls. I can't control it. I'm in your hands. Hey, that feels very good to say to the Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm in your hands. And I was thinking about this later. How come we can't do this in regard to all of our difficulties in life? Not that we should be complacent, not that we shouldn't be hands-on, but whatever your situation is that's keeping you up at night, whether it's financial, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, why can't we do the same thing? I'll take step one, step two. Okay, Rabbi Hashem, I did mine, you do yours. If we can learn to do that, then we can merit this special tranquility that we're in the Rebbeinu Shalom's hands, that he's hu boyrei umanig l'chol habruyim. Not just when you have to run into a shelter. Not just then. Why can't we do it? Why is it so much harder to do it? You know, somebody asked me a question. The fellow's a doctor in Eretz Yisrael, a friend of mine. He calls me up. This is when I ask you something. This fellow comes in. He wants tranquilizers. Why does he want tranquilizers? Because this missile thing is driving him crazy. The sirens, the alarms. So I said to this guy, this is what this friend of mine tells me, who was his doctor. He says, Mr. So-and-so, I have been telling you for the last year that your blood pressure is sky high. You won't take medication because you're scared of side effects. Your cholesterol is 350. You won't take medications because you're scared of side effects. Your sugar is through the roof. Not only don't you want to take medication, you're not slowing down on the cheese danishes. You're a walking time bomb. You haven't done a single thing about it. And you want tranquilizers because of the missiles? I don't get you. He says, what are the chances of the missile falling on your head? But every time you bite into a cheese Danish, do you know what you're doing to your life? Says the guy didn't chop. So you're not going to give me tranquilizers, right? Okay, I know these missiles are driving me. You just walk out and get it. So he asked me, what do you think? What's the difference? I said, the difference is because to slow down on the cheese Danish, it requires change in your personal life. It's much easier to scream, oh, yeah, I'm so scared. The world's coming to an end. The Arabs are destroying us. We're gone. There's no AIDS, so the world's again. That's much easier to do in a sense than it is to change your life, than it is to actually pick yourself up and do something. So that's number one. The Rebbeinu Shalom was bayri and number two, poseach shi'ar. Open up the doors. Open up the doors. I tried to picture this. You think in Midtown Manhattan it should never ever happen. If there was an air raid siren, people would open the windows and doors and yell to the populace, come on in. Not because people are bad. Culture wouldn't allow it. The reality of the street wouldn't allow it. I said to myself, thinking back to that moment, what were those guys doing by the window anyway? They're opening their doors, come on in, come on in. A yid has a koyach. When he comes into a crisis situation, it can go one of two ways. You can lock yourself up, you can open yourself up to others. It's a choice sometimes that we have to make. When Klal Yisrael is hit hard, and we see it clearly, we're all in this together, we open up our doors. I think the Rav alluded to it beforehand. We could only learn to open our doors in our personal crisis. How much different would things be? What doors will Hashem open in Shemayim? To feel the pain of others, to daven for others, and a Karas HaTov, to be happy that you're alive. Isn't that a contradiction? I ask you. Isn't that a contradiction? Hashem, I feel so bad over those families that lost children, for those that lost their houses, for those that lost soldiers on the front line. Hashem, help them. Karas HaTov. Thank you so much that it's not me. Isn't that a contradiction? How can you have hishtatfus in someone else's tzar, tefillah for others, and then say, but God, I'm really happy that it's not me? The Welt says of art, what's the difference between a big operation and a small operation? A major operation is a minor operation is what happens to someone else. Major operation is what a person himself has to go through. I think that the answer to that, I struggled with it for a while, and I got it. I was involved in a certain shalom situation, trying to make shalom, and I was not doing very well. The only shalom I got between the two parts, I got both of them to agree to hate me. It's often the case in mediation. And quite frankly, I kind of had it. So I went to my Meshgiach Zangezund, Rabbi Davin, Rabbi Moshe Wilson, Zangezund Stark. I said to him, Rebbe, can I parachute out? He said, why? And you asked that I get involved in this, it's really just the mud is just getting thicker and thicker, and the mud pies are flying quicker, and they're getting there. And then I said something which really was the wrong thing to say there. I said, it's taking up a lot of my time. Meshgiach turned to me and he said, what does that mean, my time? Is it your time? Yeah. It's your time? Really? Can you buy time? All the billions in the world couldn't buy an extra second of life. Who says it's your time? It's Hashem's time. Maybe Hashem is only giving you the time to do this. So I mean, it's my time. That was the end of the conversation. Suffice it to say that I would continue getting deeper and deeper into the mud. But it struck me very hard. The truth is, Meshgiach once told me that he learned this from Rav Pam. Rav Pam, today's the Yartzeit, Zechut Tzaddik L'Vracha, when he was ill and not well, his response to that was to get rid of some of the gatekeepers. The more it was difficult for him to walk, the more events he attended. The more it was difficult with him to deal with the nature of the politics of having to be up there, the more he ran away from it. Afterwards, the more he got involved, as he got involved with the shuvul and the various different mezuzahs that he was involved in. And somebody once asked him, you're not well. Miraculously. So Rav Pam said the doctors told him originally he had 5 weeks. That was 5 years ago. So what does that mean? It's Hashem's gift of time. Hashem gives you a gift. What do you do with that gift? It's not my time. Rav Pam's understanding was that if Hashem gave him a gift of time, then he has to use the time for the right thing. Just the opposite. It's not my time. So Meshgiach said to me, who says it's your time? Maybe this is the only reason. Someone told me a story that there was a koheling man, a middle-aged koheling man. There was an older almana that had this, she was petrified to allow a nazeret into her house, a maid, and they said the house was mamish. So he went up there every Friday, he took upon himself this mitzvah, and he mopped the floor for her. And he did this many, many years. And one day he passed away suddenly, this koheling man. By the end of the levaya, somebody came and said, who's going to take over that mitzvah of mopping the floor? They went to look into it. And they found out that this old lady passed away a week beforehand. Could it be that it wasn't his time? That his time was a gift? And because his time was a gift, and because he understood that his time is a gift, so therefore Kadosh Baruch Hu gave him borrowed time? I think today in this insane world, you think about the political scenarios of what's going on, what the State Department is saying, how vulnerable we are. It's not our time. Time is a gift. And that's what we think about when Rosh Hashanah comes. So we have to make it very clear to the Borei Kol Olam what we're going to do with that time. We can look for excuses and say, I was over Shabbos with in the Raleigh Hotel, and there was a Yid over there. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole world is standing in his chus. He's a Yid, young father, suffering from ALS. The only thing he can move is his eyes. And they wheel him in a wheelchair, not just a wheelchair, he's literally strapped on all sides. His eyes follow along and he's davening. He wanted to be there by every shir, by every drasha. Do you know that this man took all of the Dirshu tests on Daf Yomi for the entire year? He prepared himself on every solitary daf. An average test took between 12 and 13 hours. Because the only way he could communicate is by them waving an aleph-based chart in front of him and follow his eyes to where his eyes come to a stop. They say, oh, Gimel, Daled, and that's how they put together the words. This man sits, people looks at, they have a big shtenda with a Gemara. During the week, whatever the computers help, a Shabbos they use this system. This man sits 13 hours a day and learns. And took the faher. Took tests. He's determined to take tests to make sure that he doesn't slack off. A little bit he can move his lips and he can smile. What's our excuse? Nah, but I'm having it so tough I can't think of someone else. No, because you're having it tough. That's why you have to think of someone else. Trust me, I'm talking to myself, chas v'shalom. I'm not looking down at anyone. There was a Yid, Rav Koshelevsky. It's a Tyre Yid. There was a man in Kailo, lost the daughter, Rachman Hassan's Erev Rosh Chodesh. The husband was shmetted of shticker, broken to pieces. His wife was doing better than he was. Rosh Kailo came to the husband one day and said, you're here from morning till night. He said, no, I'm putting my whole life into Torah, which isn't, that he didn't have no problem with that, but he saw that it was just an excuse, because he really was getting more and more depressed. He said to him, come here. You don't realize that your wife is battered and hurt? And by your frown, you're making it worse for her? You're obligated to support her. Go home every night and force that smile on your face for her sake. He did it for her sake. Probably saved his own life because it got him out of the depression. So many times we can only understand that we have to move on for someone else. I once read an article about a 17-year-old kid who was an apprentice on a ship in Pearl Harbor. He was too young to see what he saw. Beheaded bodies, limbs, people drowning in oil. But he went through that entire night of fire and blazes. Afterwards, he went totally out of his mind. They had to put him into an institution. And the therapist came to talk to him. He said to him, those images, I just can't see it. I see the Japanese planes bombing. I see the ships blowing up. I see people going up in pieces. He says to him, what did you do the entire night, the night of the attack? He said, the night of the attack, we were ferrying back and forth. We were ferrying people into the oil, dragging bodies out that were burning, and there was no time, like, to think. But the next morning, when the post-trauma stepped in. So this person said, so as long as you were ferrying people back and forth, you had no post-trauma. So why don't you become a paramedic and put your life in? So he wrote a whole book, this person. He became a paramedic and a head of paramedics, and that's what saved his life. We look for comfort. It's important to look for comfort, and it's important to give comfort. But the only real comfort comes when you give to someone else. And that's the answer to the contradiction. You know what the answer to the contradiction is? On the one hand, I feel someone else's pain. On the one hand, I daven for him. On the other hand, thank you, Hashem, that I'm alive. That's dangerous. Because you could say, thanks God that it's him and it's not me. They say there was this counselor in camp that told his kids, if you ever see a dog, even a ferocious dog, even a pit bull, don't worry. Just say the pasuk, L'chol b'nei Yisrael le'yachretz kelev l'shaynai, and you'll see the dog won't hurt you. And the counselor's walking with the kids, and this big dog comes toward them, and all the kids go, L'chol b'nei Yisrael le'yachretz kelev l'shaynai. And the dog sits down on its hind legs, and goes meow like a pussycat. And they turn around, they look for the counselor, he's all the way up on top of a tree. They said to him, counselor, you forgot the pasuk? He says, no. He says, why did you go up on the tree? He said, I was scared the dog forgot the pasuk, he said. Very very easy to tell someone else, oh, I feel so bad for him. He should really be mechazek himself. He should understand whatever Hashem does is good. Thanks Hashem that I don't have the test. Now that's not what it means. To put these together, hishtakvis b'tzar, tefillah li'acherim, and on the other hand, hakaras hatayv, it means, Hashem, Klal Yisrael is going through a lot of tzar now. Syria, Lebanon, the world, the press, the streets. A lot of people are grieving. A lot of people in so much pain. Even before the war, a lot of people suffering. Shidduchim, health, children, what's going on out there. Thanks Hashem that it's not me? No. Thanks Hashem that it's not me, and therefore I understand that the menuchas hanefesh in my life is a gift, and because it's a gift, Hashem, tell me how to use it. Let me use it the right way. In order to be able to use it the right way, you have to have a certain level of hakaras hatayv. I have, Kodesh Baruch Hu gives everyone what they need. People say to me, how come stories only happen to you? How come they don't happen to me? I say, well, first of all, Hashem gives everyone what they need. Second of all, I think stories happen to everyone. You just have to see it. Re'ei anoichi. See yourself. See me. Look into your life. Think what's going on around you. And you'll see the stories. You'll see them one after the other. Rapid fire. Don't worry, you just have to look. You have to learn to look. At the bracha and at the klala. So I have this friend. He's a lawyer. He's a corporate lawyer. He's rough and tough. Nobody wants to go into a closing with him. He gets up, he has to speak to a crowd. He literally has to hold on to the stender. He shouldn't faint in pach. Me, I'm just the opposite. I'm a shlamazel with everything else. Get up to a crowd. Even though I'm for the honest, I have problems. I get to Moira Tol, Moira Geshem. What? Is it winter or is it summer? I can't make decisions in front of everyone. But Hashem gives everyone what they need. So he's making a bar mitzvah for his kid. Okay? Making a bar mitzvah for his kid. He tells me, please write me a script. I shall write you a script. Okay. I said, come on, you're a father. You say thanks everyone for coming. Come on, write me a script. He says, doesn't sound good on a script. It's supposed to be from the heart. I want to thank Uncle Moshe for coming from Montreal. I want to thank Tante Ciro for coming from Miami. I want to thank Tante so-so for not coming from Zurich. Whatever you have to say, say. But give me a script. I'm so scared. Your son's bar mitzvah, you're scared. This guy goes into Lions and corporate, mergers. He's scared. This is my shvachkeit. Give me a script. I was once by a bar mitzvah. This kid is like reading. His little cute bar mitzvah kid. His head is hardly protruding over the stender. He goes, and I want to thank my mother for all the unbelievable devotion and hard work, and can't read my mom's handwriting. No, he needs a script. All right, I write him a script. Then he comes back to me and says, his wife said he should add some humor to it. Okay. It's like sick to read a joke from a paper. Doesn't work. And then, so I got to give him a simple joke, but he doesn't. So I'm thinking, okay, I got it. I said, I write this joke out for him. Then once there was a bar mitzvah boy, everybody brought him svarim. One person brought him a Mishnah Brura, another person brought him an Achiezer, another person brought him a Sfas Emes, another guy brings him a Chuvas of Kiva Eger, one guy brings him an umbrella. He says, why are you bringing me an umbrella? He says, I wanted to give you something, at least I know you'll open. Okay? Fine. So I give the guy the joke, So he gets up there. It comes the big night of the bar mitzvah. And I'm in the crowd. And he starts out like this. He goes, I want to tell you this amazingly funny joke. And I'm going, oh no, somebody's good for this. You never start a joke by saying it's amazingly funny. Because it's never as amazingly funny as the expectations. That was only the first part of the problem. He goes on to say like this. He's already giggling. He's laughing at his own joke, And he goes, somebody once gave an umbrella to a bar mitzvah boy to open. He's like, you don't get it? And I was like, what? Now, when you make a joke and it falls flat, like jokes need siyata d'shmaya, you just, you lick your wounds and you go on weiter. But he went back. He's going to get everyone to laugh, He doesn't understand why no one's laughing. They gave a mitzvah boy an umbrella to open. You don't get the jokes? So some people are like laughing politely. Others are like saying, what? So he tells me afterwards, what did I do wrong? I said, what'd you do right? I said, you never preface a joke by saying it's a great joke. What makes people laugh is the element of surprise. That's number one. Number two, because what makes people laugh is the element of surprise, you can't give away the end of the joke before the beginning of the joke. That was the last line, not the first line. There's nothing funny about an opening an umbrella. When you contrast it with svarim, that's humor. I said to myself, so what makes us laugh? The element of surprise. So if I wake up in the morning and I believe God owes me, and I'm angry when my wife, didn't give me the 100% respect, when my husband didn't give me the 100% respect, and I'm angry when things don't work that way, and I'm angry about my boss, and I'm angry about this, and I'm angry about that, because God owes me, you're never happy. You'll never ever be happy. There's never an element of surprise. You believe the world is coming to you. You're only angry when it's not working out the way you want, and it never usually does. But if you wake up in the morning and you make an assumption, God owes me nothing. Life is a gift. And in addition to this gift, I'm getting breakfast too. In addition to this gift, I can breathe. In addition to this gift, I can move my hands and feet, not just my eyes. So you're happy. The more simchas achayim there is, the more hakaras hatayv. It's all connected to each other. In order to be happy, we have to stop thinking about ourselves and start thinking about others. This person told me this story and said I should keep it a secret. I said I'll only say it amongst friends. Rav Hutner once said, there's no difference in a secret and a non-secret, other than a secret is something you say to one person at a time. It's not a secret you say it to a couple of people at a time. I remember once I was davening, I was in this hotel for Shabbos, and I had Yortzeit for Musaf, and I had this big chazan that everyone came to hear. So I wanted to ask 10 people to come out and daven this. And I don't know, this hotel, they don't let other minyanim. So I went to the manager, I said, I have a Yortzeit. Can I take out 10? No. I said, have a Yortzeit, come on. No. I said, oh, you don't let me take out a minyan for Musaf. Me daven for my mother, it's the last time I'm coming here. He says, okay, but go to 9 people, and don't tell anyone but these 9 people. And tell them not to tell anyone. Okay? And you're not to start telling it to them until after Kriyas HaTorah, until you can purkin. So there's no time they have to say to anyone else. Whoa. And he gives me a back room, go with 9 other people, and engage in the clandestine activity. So I go over, it's like, after you can purkin, I go, I have a minyan from Musaf, can you come? Don't tell us something. This chazan is gargling away, and I go to 9 people, okay? By the time the chazan finishes Kaddish, I turn around, and literally 300 people are following me into the... There's no such thing as a secret, okay? So this fellow tells me that if you go to Hebron, there's the Kedoshei Hebron over there, terrible massacre in 1929. He says one of the Kvarim is empty. It's his grandfather's cave, and it's empty. It says a name, there's no one in there. Okay. He tells me that his grandfather was an Einaka, it was a town of the Chafetz Chaim, and the Chafetz Chaim once called him in, and he told him, Aaron, in Shemayim now they're giving you a choice. Ashirus, riches, or good kids. Which one do you want? As if you have a choice, if the Chafetz Chaim gives you such a choice. Hey, Rebbe, quit the kids, give me the box, right? It wasn't exactly going to happen. So, of course, he said, the good kids. The Chafetz Chaim said, you got it. Comes back into his room, he goes, oh, what about the Ashirus part, He says, Hashem, I have an idea. Give me the money. I promise you I won't use it for myself. I'll use it for my kids. I don't want to give up the money. I just won't use it for myself. That was between the Chafetz Chaim and him, between him and the Rebbeinu Shalom. During the terrible, he would learn in the Slobodki Yeshiva. The Slobodki Yeshiva was divided in half went to Hebron. Then there was a terrible Hebron massacre. He, for whatever reason, was buddies with a lot of the local Arabs. They came in, he was stabbed. It missed his heart. He fell to the floor. He was lying there for almost an entire day. He overheard everything taking place. He was literally picked up and thrown into a pit with dead bodies. When the Red Cross came and they were taking people out, after the massacre, they found him alive, they brought him to a hospital. A bunch of British intelligence agents came in and they realized he was privy to hear a lot of who, what, when, where. Although they didn't do much to protect this, but they really wanted to know who was behind it. And he was scared to answer them. So they promised him, everyone thinks he's dead, they'll give him a different name, they'll even make him a tzevah for him. And really, everyone saw him being killed, they saw the knife go through him. He still didn't want, they offered him some financial incentive. with that money, he gave half to the Chevron Yeshiva to rebuild in Yerushalayim, half he invested. All of his life, he lived in Eretz Yisrael. He was a very, very wealthy man. He lived in a tiny dira. He kept his word. Married off every single one of his children, every single one of his grandchildren that were alive during his time. The rest he put away into funds. And he once told one of his grandchildren, the day I made that Kabbalah, Hashem, give me money. I won't use it for myself. People think I lost my money. I got my money. There's nobody in the world that enjoys their money more than I do, he said. We're not on that level. And we're not mechuyev to live in pitzi diras. But in our mindset, we can say the time is not on ours. In our mindset, we can come into this Rosh Hashanah and say, a new year is coming. Boirei kol olamim, help me. Help me believe that everything is you. Help me open my door. Help me be mispal for others. Help me feel other people's pain. And please help me to have a karas hatov. Because if you have a karas hatov, you have life. If you don't have a karas hatov, you're just angry at everyone and anything. Someone comes over to you and says, do you have the time? Think about that. No, I don't. It's God's time. So therefore, what can I do for you? I remember once I was driving a Flatbush looking for a place where I had to speak. It was late at night. I don't see well at night. And the cars beep, 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 you know, every time around the block. And finally, I'm driving a third time around the block, trying to find a house. And there's a guy behind me going slowly, and all the cars are beeping behind him. I see he's even waving everyone behind them. What's your rush, he says. Who's this tzaddik? And I look, and I see, yeah, it's a metered taxi. It's a yellow taxi. It's running on a meter. Of course he's not in a rush. And I said to myself, our lives are also running on a meter. And do we know how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays if we take passengers? There's a fellow who told me he was about Tefillah Yom Le'roh many years ago. They kicked him out because he davened too slow, you know. He wasn't davening with enough geshmak. Too quick for them. 30 years later, they asked him to come back. He says, you threw me out because I davened too slow. He says, then we were in a rush. He says, now we know where we're going. We're not in such a rush, he said. Life is a meter. And time is a gift. And that's what the Rebbeinu Shalom is telling us. And the Al Shech HaKadosh says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has an interesting minig. The more you appreciate something, the more he gives you. And the more we appreciate time, the more of it HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us. A good kibbutz shiar. Ksiv v'chsim v'tov.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Fischel Schachter. Let's give Rabbi Schachter a round of applause, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay seated as we're going to be reciting the 2 kapitel of Tehillim that we have in our sheets very, very soon, very momentarily. Just a few very quick announcements before we do that. Once again, this year is dedicated Leilun Nishmat, the memory of Natanel ben Istam de Mekred Duchtar. Thank you very much to the Mastur family for dedicating this year in his memory. It should be known that he was a 20-year-old Israeli soldier that unfortunately passed away in the Lebanon War 30 years ago. So his Neshama She'aven Eliyah B'zchut this year. Amen. I also want to give a big thank you, Yeshkach, to the Queen Jewish Community Council, the QJCC, Warren Hecht, the president, who was here, and Dr. Rabbi Keen and the others for helping co-sponsor this event. Chickens for Shabbos, Rabbi Newman as well, for helping sponsor tonight's event, and of course the Chazaq organization for helping with all of that that they do. Another special thank you to the Shul and the Rav for opening its doors for tonight's event as well. Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. And as we do at every event, we collect for a different institution. We've collected for Beis Yaakov of Queens, we've done Yeshiva Katana, and we've done Tiferes Moshe. Tonight we're going to be doing Benos Malka of Queens. Being that we don't really have a basket, I don't see one, at least whoever wants to donate to that institution, they could leave it, I guess, on the bima, or they could give it to Elisha. Just raise your hand, and we'll make sure to take care of that. One more announcement that the Chazaq second annual dinner is right around the corner. Please save the date, September 15th. We're expecting a very, very large turnout in Mirza Hashem Yisbarach with everyone's help. Everyone's welcome. It's open to the public, and obviously there's a small fee. There will be invitations given out by my very own YY Rosenberg in the back. Before everyone leaves, please participate any way you can. If for whatever reason you can't make it, we're going to be having a very large journal, and the people can write Alta Karsatov to whatever the organization has done to the community. And of course, our main focus are the kids from the local public schools, primarily in Forest Hills, that have no connection to Yiddishkeit, the former USSR. And Baruch Hashem, we're bringing them back on a daily basis. We have programs with them, trips, and we have mentors, and Chazaq, Hashem, we're very much matzliach. But in order for us to continue our work, we really need your support. So we would really appreciate everyone attending the second annual dinner, September 15th. Tonight's event is also dedicated in memory of the 4-year-old that was brutally murdered, Daniel Tregerman in Eretz Yisrael. I forgot to mention that as well. And I was asked to announce that tonight's lecture will be on TorahAnytime.com, and that they're going to be coming out with a new app this Wednesday, Erev Rosh Chodesh Elul. So once again, thank you very much, everyone. Have a Rosh Chodesh Tov. We will be having Mariv at the end of the program. And without further ado, we're going to be having the Rav of the Shul, the Mari Das, Rav Steinberg, do the last two kapitel of Tehillims on behalf of Eretz Yisrael.
Shamalois mimamakim krosichu Adonai Adonai shemo b'koili tiyano osnecho kashuv bois l'koil tachnunoi Nois tishmoyo Adonai miyamoy Kim klas lichol mat yiborei Imis Adonai kipso nafshi v'lidvaroi hoicholti Nafshi l'Adonai Shoymrim laboyker, shoymrim laboyker. Tel Yisrael Adonai, Kim Adonai HaChesed, v'yabe imoi fedus. V'hu yivdet Yisrael, mikol avoynoi soy. Maskele David, b'yoysoi v'amogos milo. Koili l'Adonai Yezok, koili l'Adonai Yetzchanon. Neshboich l'chlonav psichit, sorosi l'chlonav agit. Yisate v'alai ruchi, v'yat yodato nesivosi, v'yoyrach zu halech tom nufachli. Habeit yominu rei, v'yein li makir, ovad monois mimeni, ein doireish l'nafshi. Zo'akti elecho Adonai, amati atu machsi, chelki b'yeret v'chayim. Akshiv elinosi kidaloisi miyoid, atzileni meroit v'akiyom tzu mimeni. Tzil mi maske nafshi, lo hoydose hashmecho, v'yachtiru tzadikim, ki sigmoy lo loi. Achenu kol beis yisam l'tzuvotzo v'shiloi mimei b'yom u'b'yabosho. Amokim yirachim alayim, yitzim yitzol levochim yafelu yoichem, yishimu l'gulo. Ashtu bagos man kori, v'neimar, amen.